Thanks for dropping in. This is Random Rob, this is the new show, and today I'm talking about Riddick from 2013. So Vin Diesel made a deal with Universal. The deal was this. Diesel said, I'll do a cameo in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift if you give me the rights to Riddick. Which Universal did, and Diesel was able to produce the movie as an independent picture, shot in Quebec and Montreal. David Twohy returned to write and direct, and personally I would say if Pitch Black is the best Riddick picture, Riddick is the second best. There's a lot to like in this movie, and a couple of things to not like so much. But to recap the story, Riddick finds himself as the aloof and uninterested leader of the Necromongers. And in an introductory flashback sequence, we see that Lord Vaco, again played by Carl Urban, has just been waiting for an excuse to offload Riddick and move on with his plan for transcendence, presumably to die and travel to the Underverse and recover the same kind of powers that the Lord Marshal had. Vaco cons Riddick into believing that a certain backwater world is the legendary lost planet of Furia that Riddick's people come from. He's nearly killed and abandoned on the surface, quickly realizes that the planet is not Furia, and so goes about the business of surviving on an alien world, which, like Pitch Black, also has a nasty local predatory species. And this sets up probably my favorite part of this film, is about the first half an hour in which we see Riddick surveying the landscape, figuring out how to fight these creatures and defeat them, and how to get to higher ground. The planet, conveniently called Not Furia, has a lower level of terrain that's mostly made up of sulfur pits and sand, and then a higher plateau area which has vegetation. The creatures in this segment were once again designed by Patrick Tatopoulos. They have a little bit of visual similarity to the creatures from Pitch Black, although these creatures are more of a kind of amphibious scorpion creature. An important detail about them is that they stay close to water, and Riddick is ultimately able to reach the higher ground and making a friend out of a local species of coyote zebra, which was all done with CG. While this could have been a sequence that might have been disastrous, I think the stylized CG that they created for the dog was well done. It conveys emotion well. It gives Riddick something to play off of that's not another human being who's trying to kill him, which makes for some interesting situations. And again, like in Chronicles, this opening sequence looks and feels, again, like something out of a heavy metal comic. It's good stuff. It's a really good sequence. Now, when Riddick gets to the high ground, he finds an abandoned facility, activates an emergency beacon, and waits for mercenaries to show up who he can kill or steal their ship or what have you. As it turns out, two groups of mercenaries end up showing up. One led by the jerkwad character of Santana, played by Jordi Mala. He makes a memorable, cringe-worthy asshole character. And he has a crew of far less memorable subordinates who all get killed by the end of the film. But a second group of mercenaries show up, led by Boss Johns, the father of Johns from Pitch Black. Boss Johns is played by Matt Nable, who you would probably know from Arrow. He's really good in this part. He doesn't seem old enough to be John's father. If I could make a fantasy casting for the part of Boss Johns, it would have been like mid-90s Nick Nolte or Tommy Lee Jones. But Nable's really good in this. He brings a lot of pathos to the character. He wants to know how and why his son was killed. He wants to know if Riddick is responsible. The motivations are there. The scenes between him and Vin Diesel are really good. This is my favorite Vin Diesel performance in these films. You can tell he's really comfortable in it. There's also the edge of age creeping in, that feeling that there's a little bit of self-deprecating humor in it, like, you know, here we go again. Diesel really works it well. And I especially like that in several scenes they backlight Riddick so he's in silhouette and you just see the glow of his eyes. And really makes him almost seem like death, or like an insect, just something completely unempathetic. Again, it's well done. It gives his character an edge that we hadn't seen before. And even though the film ultimately ends in a survival situation that's somewhat similar to Pitch Black, there's enough changes in it to make it interesting and worth watching. The only down notes for me in this movie is the ending. It's a little abrupt. It doesn't feel like it really builds up to a meaningful climax. It's a little more of a head scratcher where everyone kind of decides to be friends at the end. I'm not saying the idea of Riddick and John's father finding some sort of reconciliation isn't a bad idea. It just felt like it could have been developed a little bit more so that the ending would have had more of a emotional resonance to it. It feels a little rushed. The other odd thing has to do with the character of Doll, played by Katie Sackhoff, in that the film makes a point of letting us know that her character's a lesbian, but seemingly the only reason for this information is to hang a joke on it that she might sleep with Riddick just because he's such a badass. And it's just like dopey locker room shit. I mean, there is no climactic sex scene between these two, although it is sort of verbally implied in a very tongue-in-cheek way right at the end of the film. You know, my feeling about this stuff is I'm all about gay characters, just in general, but especially in science fiction. Bring on the gay characters. But don't use the sexuality of a character as a butt of a joke. You know, I like it when you have minority characters in stories, and I like it when you have gay characters in stories where the fact that someone's a minority or a different sexual orientation doesn't matter. You know, because we live in the future. It's not 1960. I just don't like it when someone's skin color or someone's sexuality is a problem in itself in a modern film that needs to be fixed or have something done to it. I just think that stuff is on the verge of being aggressively regressive. It's almost like David Twohy is writing the thing and like, I'm gonna put this joke in here for the guys. You know, not a big enough thing to really bring the whole production down, but just kind of weird. Like what? Why? Having a gay character is cool. It's progressive. It's futuristic. You know, but making a gay character the butt of a silly joke, it's just old school. That's got no place in sci-fi. Not in modern sci-fi, anyway. Sorry, that just bothers me a little bit. At the end of the day, Riddick 2013 ended up costing about $38 million. It made about $42 million in the US and almost $100 million worldwide. So hopefully we'll be seeing the fourth Riddick film, Furia, in the next couple of years. And I'm hoping that the storyline they're going to go with is Riddick traveling into the Underverse to bring back Jack. There's so much fun stuff you could do with that story, including, you know, all the references to Orpheus and Eurydice, for example. Plus, if Chronicles of Riddick is ever going to make sense, at some point Riddick really needs to destroy the Necromongers once and for all, and hopefully that's what we're going to see in the next movie, and I can't wait for that. So what did you think about Riddick 2013? Agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like what you heard, hit the like button and subscribe. And please consider becoming a patron of the new show. Alright, this is Random Rob. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.